The NFL has their league meetings this week, and Robert Saleh met with the press. He had a bunch of questions thrown his way. Let's take a look at all his responses and see what we could learn from our New York Jets. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, I go live every Monday at 8 o'clock for my live call-in show, and then Tuesdays we come back with our Talkin' Jets panel, myself, O'Leary, and Green Bean, so make sure you check out both those and ask us all your Jet-related questions. But let's move on to today's topic of the day, and that is the NFL League meetings and an interview that Robert Saleh gave today, and some of his answers and questions that were asked and everything. I want to go over this and sort of see what we can learn for what might be on our minds come draft time and how we're feeling post-free agency here. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The start of this conversation kind of geared towards Tyreek Hill, the whole Jets going after him, giving up 2 seconds and a third. They didn't get him. Obviously, he chose the Miami Dolphins. And Robert Saleh said he loves the player. They thought they had an opportunity where they were able to really make their team better. You can get the ball in his hands any sort of way and really get him involved. He mentioned having a player that can take the ball 80 yards and score a touchdown at any given moment is incredibly, incredibly important. Those explosive players don't come around the league too often. So then he was asked about the whole wide receiver priority, since obviously we were in on potentially trading for Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper. You're hearing rumors of the Tyreek Hill stuff and maybe potentially DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown. He did say that there was going to be some players that become available as things get closer to the draft. So I don't think we're necessarily locked in to where we are right now. You could still potentially see a trade for a wide receiver. But when he was asked about the priority of the position itself, he kind of said, you know, look, we're putting ourselves in the best position to go best player available, and it's one of the many needs on our team. So they're looking to get better, but I don't know if it's necessarily, you know, number 4, number 10, or maybe it's a second round, or maybe it's a trade. There's a lot of different directions they can go, and they've set themselves up well based on everything that happened in free agency. The next thing he brought up, or another thing he brought up, was I started seeing tweets about this offensive line versus defensive line at number 4. Is there going to be a bare-knuckle brawl between him and Joe Douglas? And it was definitely tongue-in-cheek. It was definitely a joke for sure. I would be surprised to see the Jets go offensive line at number 4 or 10. I think it's a strength of your team, and if Joe Douglas really has that scouting acumen, I think he's able to fill some of these holes with a little bit later picks, and we can develop these guys a little bit further. So I would be surprised if we wound up going with an offensive lineman early. I think it would probably be a damning indictment on Mekhi Becton, but that's not the vibe I got from this conversation with Robert Saleh. It seems like they really think Becton's going to be back for training camp, and that, you know, he's just a big dude. It just takes a lot longer to heal. So while that is kind of alarming, Robert Saleh alluded to the whole fact that, look, if I got that injury, I'm a little bit lighter. It's going to take me a different amount of time to heal. And that's kind of what we've sort of been talking about. Mekhi Becton is an absolute workout warrior. So that, combined with him getting a nutritionalist, like, I'm not too concerned about his weight. I think he's going to bounce back really, really well this year. Keeping our conversation on the offensive line, we heard probably the biggest bit of news that people are really talking about here, and that's Alijah Vera-Tucker, our left guard that was selected just last year in our trade-up, is moving to right guard on the opposite side of the line, and instead our new free agent, Laken Tomlinson from the 49ers, is going to be playing his natural left guard position as well. And for me, it makes a lot of sense because, look, Laken Tomlinson just went to the Pro Bowl for this type of position, left guard. Why would you want to move him to the other side? There's also probably some type of, like, old dog, new tricks kind of thing going on, where, like, Alijah Vera-Tucker played right guard back in, like, 2018, his freshman year at USC, so he does have a little bit of positional flexibility, and since he's only been in the league a year, why not kick him over to the other side where he could, you know, learn and play over there. I think they're going to put their best 5 offensive linemen out in front of him. When they were talking about left tackle, too, about Mekhi Becton and George Fant has absolutely earned the competition for the starting left tackle spot. He played really well last year, and I think it's interesting to see if Alijah Vera-Tucker is moving over to the right-hand side. I still think they want to have Becton win that left tackle position, so moving Alijah Vera-Tucker to the right allows him to continue to play next to George Fant, who he played alongside all last year. So there is a little bit of chemistry going on here with the New York Jets for sure. In terms of Zach Wilson, he's bringing up Zach Wilson is going on tour. He's going all around the, I don't want to say country, but he's going around seeing all his players. Most recently, Braxton Berrios. You see him in the pictures with Zach Wilson is good and Braxton Berrios is good. Like, these two guys seem like they just have great chemistry. They're playing golf down in Florida. Oh, I love it. Guys, if you want to play some golf up in New Jersey, you just let me know. We'll figure something out. But man, dude, I'm all sorts of excited for the way Zach Wilson has approached this offseason. I think he's definitely trying to step into that leadership role and really get on the same page with his receivers and learn the whole playbook. And that's something that Robert Saleh wants to see him really come into camp knowing the playbook, reacting to everything instead of having to process things as they go. And as you get into the second year of the system, I think they're kind of expecting that. You started to see towards the end of the season some of the things that he saw earlier in the year, like maybe it's taking a sack or throwing the ball in the dirt instead of forcing the ball, creating a turnover, something along those lines. Maybe it's running up to the line of scrimmage, catching guys off sides, catching defenses in 12-man fronts. That's definitely where things started to develop towards the end of the season, and I think you're going to see a nice step up from Zach Wilson. And if he takes that step up, oh man, is that going to be all sorts of exciting. Now, he did mention about the whole draft class in 2020 as a whole, with Becton, Mims, Ashton Davis. He wants to see those guys take their next step, really take the next growth in their progression. How can you put them in the best situation to succeed? So that's what everyone kind of wants to see. Right now, the 2020 draft class has really been underwhelming from like a top-end perspective, with Becton being hurt, Mims not really showing out the way we all sort of hoped he would last year, but there was a lot going on with that whole situation. And then Ashton Davis and Zuniga really haven't been too big of a factor to really start here. And then he gets into the whole free agency side of things, and you really get to talk about like the types of players that they're bringing in. They're bringing in guys that were captains. They're bringing in guys that have championship experience in Uzma and Laken Tomlinson and Whitehead. These are all guys that have a mentality. They're here because they want to be here, not because they're overpaid. And I think that's important distinction to make, because we've always had to pay the Jets tax, and you get players that just are here for a payday. They're not here because they're buying into the system. This is going to be really exciting, because not only did the Jets add these free agents this offseason, but you're thinking about what they did last offseason and the players we were not able to see, like Joyner, like Lawson, like Becton. We're basically adding those guys to this roster this year, even though, you know, we had them on the roster. We just didn't get to see from them. So it's exciting to see from a talent perspective where this team really could be in just 6 months' time, and it's getting me all sorts of excited here. Guys, I don't know. I'm all sorts of excited. I can't wait for the draft. I don't know if we've really tipped our hand on everything. Like, I still think that you're probably going best player available at 4 at either edge or best player available overall. Like, could that be a Hamilton? Could that be a Sauce Gardner? I think Sauce maybe, while not necessarily a position of need, I don't want to say a position of need, because that's a bad way to say that, but the thought that, hey, we brought in DJ Reed might prevent us from going Sauce Gardner is probably not the right way to look at things, because I think Hall and Reed are going to eventually wind up competing, because they're both going to be up for contracts right around the same time. So I think Sauce could be a staple, because you'll have him under contract for like 5-6 years. But then you could also go edge rusher, because he did say edge rusher is going to be a priority here. Edge rusher is like way and away one of the biggest needs here, and this is a stacked draft class. So I do think edge rusher is going to be one of our top draft picks. I don't think offensive lineman is going to be a top draft pick, but I do think there's definitely something there to like the nastiness level. One of the things they brought up about Laken Tomlinson is that they really liked his nasty kind of mean streak and what he brought to the team on game day, and that's something that you saw them when they tried to, or were rumored to be targeting Ryan Jensen, Bradley Bozeman, Tyler Linderbaum. I think they're probably going to take center a little bit higher than some of us think. I don't think that necessarily means Linderbaum, but I do think Zion Johnson in the event that we trade down is probably squarely on the table. Man, there's a whole lot of stuff to get into. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts on all these things are down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys took away from this press conference. And as always, go Jets.